We are here, and it is right now. It is the UFC 320 Fight IQ podcast brought to you by RotoWire. Drake's dog is very excited. We can see why, because we have two title fights atop a 14-fight card. Of course, the rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight championship, preceded by Merab Dvalishvili taking on Cory Sandhagen for the bantamweight strap. Like I said, 14 fights, a jam-packed card, and alluded to Drake. We do got the boys with me. It is Drake Burden. Also, Sun Tzu Joe is here with me too. And guys, I was talking a little bit before the broadcast. This is, one of the few times I can say that I've been excited for a card in quite some time, especially a pay-per-view card. Sometimes we get like a packed card with fluff and maybe a meh title fight. This time we have two very good ones. So I want to hear you guys the quality of the card overall as a fan, but also how you're looking to build your lineups from a DraftKings or a FanDuel perspective. Joe, I know you said you were kind of searching for dogs. Me and you kind of diverge in that. I think there's a little bit more underdog at play here. But I'll start with you first. How are you looking to build the cards from the ground up, and how heavily are you weighing the two title fights in that equation?
Okay, interesting question. But first, I have to ask Drake if he realizes that the Fighting Nerds merch now is like 50% off. They've gone on quite a decline. I don't know if you watched Dana White Contender Series, but there were two fighters from Fighting Nerds, and they both lost.
That's okay. The good thing about being a fan is you're actually a fan.
Okay, I'm a gambler. I'm not a fan.
Right. He's ride or die.
I'm not a fan. I'm more of a gambler than I am a fan. Okay, Chris, to answer your question, yeah, I see this as an extremely favored heavy card. Of the two title fights, obviously Merab is nearly a cash lock, and we can talk about why I think this fight is actually one of the easier fights he's had of late. When we get to the breakdown, I don't, in the main event, unless there's a finish, like I don't see a lot of scoring. Like I think you could actually fade the main event. I don't see a lot of upside for DraftKings. As a matter of fact, like even in parlays, I would probably parlay Ankalaev just because that would give you the opportunity to hedge off on Pereira because it's the last fight of the night. So, that's probably going to be my strategy. I mean, let's bury the lead. I'm probably going to pick Pereira, Ankalaev to win, but I just don't see it as a very high scoring fight. So, Merab is a beast for DraftKings. I see two dog spots on the entire slate, honestly.
Wow.
I think it's going to be like a favorite heavy card. And one dog, honestly, I feel a lot stronger about than the other. So, and we're not talking a huge dog, but by DraftKings definition, he's an underdog. So I'm really curious to see if you guys see it any differently. I know we didn't talk about per se what dogs you liked, but I just don't see a lot of equity here with betting underdogs.
Yeah, no specifics, and I don't like any of the huge dogs, to be clear, but I did see a couple that I think kind of caught my eye, but we will certainly get into it. Drake, how about you? How do you see this card, and how are you looking at building lineups as we get closer to the slate lock here?
This will be a fun card to build with. Me personally, I have two big dogs on this card, so my building is rather easy.
Wow.
I have two. They might even be two of the bigger dogs on the card that I really like. We'll get to that eventually, but I kind of agree with the main event. There wasn't a lot of scoring in the first one, but I'll get more into depth on where I'm going with that fight later on. But overall, I mean, it's 14 fights. There's a lot of good ones. The main card should be really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I saw, and I did review your article, so I know one of your big dogs, and it's coming up fairly shortly as we get into this here. But as you said, we will get to that. Before we move on to the fights, which will happen very shortly, did want to say that if you are looking for 15% off any RotoWire subscription, you go to our RotoWire checkout page, you go to YouTube 15 at that page, 15% off your first subscription, any subscription that is, football stuff, hockey's getting ready to go, NBA stuff. We have everything you're gonna need. So again, YouTube 15 at checkout, 15% off any RotoWire subscription. And that is all the business that we have. We're going to jump right into the fights here. And I don't think we're going to be starting off with this as one of Drake's big dogs. It is Veronica Hardy at 9,600, taking on Brogan Walker at 6,600. Line on this fight is Veronica Hardy minus 800, Brogan Walker plus 525. And if you're hearing my chuckles there, it's just that I can't imagine a universe where Veronica Hardy is that big of a favorite against anybody. Brogan Walker certainly hasn't looked impressive in the cage. I think Veronica Hardy should get this done here. She's very athletic. She's a good striker. She's very scrambly on the mat if it gets there, and that's where Walker likes to take things. So we'll see how it goes. Brogan Walker's been taken down 4 times in each of her first 2 fights. Maybe that inspires Walker to bring this one to the ground as well. But no matter where she takes it, she's certainly not going to be worth that 9,600 salary. This is just a total pass to open the night. If you're worried about getting in late, maybe missing a fight, this is one that maybe you can spare. Again, I do kind of like Veronica Hardy in the right context, but this is certainly not that. If you think she can somehow finish, maybe look at that as a betting strategy, but this is totally one to pass on the DFS sites, I think. I'm not sure we'll get too much disagreement to start the night, but we will see. And we'll start with Joe. Joe, how you seeing it?
Yeah, Brogan Walker, I'd love to take a shot on this big underdog when you have a female fight at plus 700 and it's not one of the GOATs. These are the kind of like bets that you get buried on. But Brogan Walker hasn't fought in nearly 3 years. It's tough. The UFC likes Veronica Hardy. Like, she's good looking. She's the type of fighter they like to market. This should be a layup for her. With that said, I don't think at this price point she's a very good DraftKings play. What is she like? She's isn't she the second highest priced fighter?
9,600.
Yeah, 9,600 is absolutely insane. I don't see a world where she is going to, unless Walker is just totally coming off the bench and hasn't been training, and Veronica Hardy is able to lock something in. I think that the juices that this fight is going to go over and go to decision. So I don't see how you're going to get any equity. It might not even go 10x on a decision with, So obviously I'll take Veronica Hardy. I don't think I would have all that much Brogan Walker in DraftKings, maybe a couple of percent if you're going to do 150 in any of the contests. But other than that, Veronica Hardy should be able to win. I just don't know that she could get the finish.
Joe, I know I'm usually this guy, but you took way too long to break down this nothing of the fight.
I know.
We're just getting started, man. We got a long card. We got to pick it up. But Drake, how about you? Can you move us along a little bit quickly, then?
Sure. Low priority for DFS. Hardy wins the fight.
There you go. That I think that sums it up really well, and we will move on. Not for nothing. It's just that I think that the way that we can sum it up is just don't draft either one of them DFS. But we will move on now to the next fight. It is Ramiz Brahimaj. I'm sorry. See, I was thinking ahead. It is Austin Vanderford at 9,200 taking on Ramiz Brahimaj at 7,000. Line on this fight: Brahimaj, Vanderford. I did it again at minus 290. Brahimaj coming back at 245, and I've liked Brahimaj in the past. I don't love Vanderford as a fighter, but he knows what he wants to do in the cage, and he's committed to it. And Brahimaj has been brutalized by wrestlers in the past. Garimbo, Court McGee, and aging Court McGee, even at that time, just sort of dominated him in the wrestling. And for that reason, I just can't really trust them here. I think the rinse and repeat for Van de Voort is a real possibility. I like Brahimai's power. If he can get his wrestling going first, I think the scrambles will be interesting. But I can't trust Brahimai in the matchup, so I'm going to go Van de Voort. And this time we will start with Drake for what I believe is an announcement. Drake, what do you got for this fight?
I don't know how anybody can take Van de Voort at minus money. That just blows my mind. He beat Vretnikov, who has one win in the UFC and has looked absolutely atrocious. Van de Voort, he's another one of those Bellator guys. You don't know what to expect. You can't trust them. Brahimai has faced easily the better competition. Neither one of these guys has a good IQ. Brahimai probably has the power advantage, but I also think he's by far the better submission grappler. So in my mind, I think he submits Van de Voort.
Yeah, you might have a point there with the submission grappling. I just can't get the image out of my mind of Court McGee going rinse repeat. So maybe that's on me. Maybe that's just a little bias I'm holding, but still gonna have to go with Van de Voort here. But what about you, Joe? How do you see this fight?
Yeah, I don't hate Drake's take. I mean, I do think that Brahimaj is essentially first round or bust, though. As it relates to this fight, I don't think either one. Look, we got Mr. Paige Van Zandt here. I hope she hasn't worn him out too much for this fight, but win or lose, he still gets to go home to her, which is good. So yeah, I think Van de Voort probably wins, but I don't hate the underdog play on Brahimaj. I haven't really made an official pick for this fight anywhere, so I can change my mind. So I'll go with. I'll just defer to Drake here. I'll also take.
You've been doing pretty good when you do that. Just saying.
I'm going to defer to. Look, I was on the fence about this, and this wasn't, by the way, just to be clear, this wasn't one of the two dogs that I was talking about, in the intro. But I'll defer to Drake here. I'm okay with this. I mean, he's at what, 7K?
7,000.
That could open up a lot at 7K.
Yeah, and he's got a game to do it. It's just, he's been underwhelming more often than not. And against a guy with a game plan who's going to be aggressive, I'm not exactly trusting it. But I don't hate it exactly either. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, we will move on. And it is Farid Basharat at 9,500, taking on Chris Gutierrez at 6,700. Line on this fight is... Where is this fight? What is it doing over there? It is minus 500 for Basharat. Comeback on Gutierrez, plus 375. And if you want to talk about DraftKings scores, there is maybe no bigger DraftKings poison than
Looks like Chris froze.
Back, he was the quote-unquote free square, and as the favorite, and landed. I'm got like 55 points as the free square favorite. So just not a guy you can trust because he's a very slow-paced kickboxer. Does have good leg kicks, but not really a guy that is really going to fight aggressively. And against a guy like Basharat, who's just going to swarm, rinse and repeat takedowns. Gutierrez. Historically, good takedown defense, but has been taken down twice in each of his last two fights. And I think Basharat is just going to win this on aggression and sort of being able to dictate the fight. And probably more of a cash play than GPP, just because Gutierrez does fight slow, does tend to bring the fight to his opponent in the manner he wants it, and so it's probably going to be a slower paced fight. So probably wouldn't get to cover that in a GPP, but I think Gutierrez is the clear take here. But we'll go to Joe. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with even looking at him as a cash play is that you could get Merab for cheaper. Like that's the big issue here. Yeah, he's only scored in his 4 UFC wins. He's only scored more than 88 points once. And now you're paying this outrageous salary, not what 9.5K. Then you can get Merab for 9.3K. So like, I don't see him as a GPP play because I don't necessarily see him getting the finish here. Gutierrez is reasonably tough. And you're right, he's got good leg kicks. I mean, I'll never forget that fight against Vince Morales where he just like took the guy apart with leg kicks. And he trains at altitude. He's got pretty good cardio. So I could certainly see this going the distance. There is takedown equity, but unfortunately he's a low volume striker too. So he's not really going to score a lot of ground and pound points on the takedowns. And he is relentless with his takedowns. Like he will shoot a lot of takedowns to get his opponent to the ground, which I like that he sticks to a script. And I think that script will likely work here. Because I don't think Gutierrez is going to be able to get up. Or if he does, he's going to get taken right back down again. So on any other card, he would normally be a really good, I shouldn't say really good, maybe reasonably good cash play. But when you've got someone $200 cheaper who is a cash god, like I don't know how you get both these guys, in your lineup. So yeah, I pick him for the win, but I don't see a lot of equity on DK.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's a good point. Trying to fit salaries in. And personally, I just don't think it scores well. I don't think Gutierrez's style lends to that, but we'll see what Drake has to say. Drake, how you see this fight?
I think you're both a little bit off. I think Basharat just lays him out, keeps him down, rinse and repeat. This could easily be a 95 plus, 105 type of performance, even in a decision. Gutierrez's takedown percentage isn't all that great. And if you look at the guys that he has been taken down by, they do not have the same pedigree as Basharat. I think Gutierrez just drowns.
Yeah, no, it could be, and especially if if he's going to get time to set everything up, which he should be able to do. That he could get in on the hips there, but I don't know. It should be more of a slower paced fight, and so I'm going to stay away from it. Largely only because we have so many big ticket items on this card, as Joe alluded. But definitely that could be a sort of something to pay up for and to get some scarcity, to Drake's point there. But we will move on now, and it is Macy Chiasson at 8,600 taking on Yana Santos at 7,600. Line on this fight is Chiasson minus 200, Yana Santos plus 170. And Drake spoke earlier about not wanting to take Van de Voort as a big favorite. I'll probably never take Chiasson as a big favorite. I just think she's just a physical bully for the weight class. And if you can get past her wrestling, she doesn't really have a lot for you. We saw that in her last fight where she wasn't a favorite, but she was picked by a lot to win. And Vieira just sort of, laid waste to her. Scored 16 points in that fight. I just think that Yana Santos has fought a lot of big, physically strong grapplers. I think she's going to be ready for the wrestling at Chiasson. And if she can get past that, she's a pretty decent kickboxer. So I'm going to take a little bit of the salary relief here and maybe some burnt up chalk on Chiasson. Maybe if people are looking at her as someone to go 209,000, I just don't think she gets it done. I think she's too one note, and I think Santos is going to be ready for it. So give me Yana for the win. But this time we will start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I'm kind of undecided on what I want to do with this fight. I think it could really go both ways. Yana Santos is kind of getting up there in age. You've seen it in a couple of fights where she has slowed down. Also, her style now compared to when she was first in the UFC, it's slightly different. It almost plays right into Chiasson's style. So stylistically, I think this is a horrible matchup for Santos. We could see a first or second round knockout again from Chiasson, or we could see a 3-round decision that was super slow, like the Ketlin Vieira fight.
Yeah,
I really do think that it would be a good contrarian play because there is a really high ceiling here.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a high ceiling if she can get her wrestling going. Again, just not something I'm going to trust personally, but we will see if Joe would like to trust it. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, so Chasson missed weight again. She came in at 137.5. So Santos is getting 25% of her purse. Misha Tate almost had Santos finished in round 3 in the last fight. Chasson is a lot stronger than Misha Tate, especially at this stage in her career. Tate might be more technical, and unfortunately, Tate lost the first 2 rounds because she could not get Santos down. Once she got her down, she essentially dominated the 3rd round, but just ran out of time in looking for the finish. So, look, it seems like she actually tried to make weight. Usually, when you miss by a pound and a half at that level, you actually try to make weight. It's not like she came in 5-6 pounds heavy. So I don't know how drained she is from making the weight cut, but to Drake's point, I think she can physically get her down. I think a sub would be more likely than a knockout here. I haven't looked at the odds. I do see Chie-San as more of a contrarian play in GPPs just because I don't know what I'm going to get here. Same with Santos. So it's like this would not be something that I would look to be targeting if I was only playing like 3 to 5 lineups. Like I'd want some percentage if in, mass entries, but 3 to 5 lineups, I don't see myself having either one of these fighters.
I the Tate thing is kind of what you were speaking to. Like I think if you just fought a grappler, I get in my mind it's like you're prepared for a grappler. But I don't know, Invisible Man. Good to see you, my friend. I got you twice there. Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching, definitely subscribe to the channel. Definitely helps us a lot when we put on these little fight podcasts for you. But right now, we're going to move on to the next fight, which is, that's no good. Okay, it is Punahele Soriano at 8,800, taking on Nikolai Veretennikov at 7,400. Line on this fight, Soriano minus 330, Veretennikov plus 270. And to Drake's point, I don't much like a guy like Veretennikov. Like he's big for the weight class, which is kind of where his claim is. He's a decent boxer, but we do see him get tired. And Soriano, we've seen him on his wrestler arc, so that can be an option for him. I think he's just going to sort of club him and knock Veretennikov out. But either way, I love Soriano in this spot. I think this is a really great spot for him. We talked about Chasson at 86. You're only paying 200 more, and you're getting Soriano, who I think is pretty likely to finish, quite frankly. So Soriano, be all over him in this spot. I think he gets this done, and probably early for a big score, especially for that price. We will see what the boys think. We'll start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this one?
This is my DFS lock of the week, actually, Soriano. Absolutely love him in this fight. I think this is a massive step down. I do not think anything of Veretennikov. I think he's absolutely atrocious and needs to be cut, which very well could happen in 1 or 2 more fights. But yeah, Soriano is easily one of my favorite plays on the whole slate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Joey agrees. Joey telling us that his dog of the week is coming up, so we will be on the lookout for that too. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are filling in here, Joe, what about you? How do you see this one?
I think this is a great spot for Soriano. I mean, you look at his last 2 DraftKings scores. We're talking 130 against Medic and 169.7 against Baeza. Now, you want to know what his salaries were in those 2 fights? Yeah. In his last fight, he was 7,500, and in his fight before that, he was 7,500. Like at 9.4K against Stolfus, he got lit up. But I think this is a good spot for him. I mean, particularly in GPPs, like 8.8K is great. I think he's got a lot higher ceiling than some of your fighters in the 9K range, like Zalal and Basharat, and Ankalaev. Well, Ankalaev is not there, but I really do. I can see why Drake picked him. Definitely would say one of my favorite. I mean, Merab. I got to remove Merab from the conversation because he's like my favorite everywhere.
Yeah.
GPPs. He's just a machine, right? Chain wrestling machine who weaponizes cardio. One of my favorite fighters of all time. So yeah, I would say in terms.
I don't see you with a pair of autograph shorts like I've got.
No, I've got to get myself a Merab. I got to get myself a machine apparel. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Soriano also as my favorite GPP play minus Merab, and I really do think you should just lock him in. And if you are playing mass entry, he should probably be one of your higher owned fighters.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some of his losses are haven't aged that well, but he went away after that Stolfus fight, retooled a little bit. He did have 6 months in between there. It definitely looks like a renewed fighter, especially with that wrestling that we saw in the Baeza fight. So I agree. I think he's in a fantastic spot there, and will be going heavily in that spot. But now we're going to move on to the next fight. It is Edmund Shabazian, 9,100, taking on Andre Muniz, coming back at 7,100. Line on this one, Shabazian minus 310, Andre Muniz plus 260. And I think it's might be time to reevaluate the idea that Shabazian just loses to grapplers, full stop. I mean, he beat Dylan Bucka, he beat Andre Petrosky. I know that those aren't the most high-level names you've ever heard of, but it does speak to the idea that, there's a little bit more to it than if somebody is just going to go for his legs, he's just going to acquiesce. I know Andre Muniz has actually been upticked in the wrestling of late. His win over Jung Park was almost entirely wrestling. So if you're on Andre Muniz, that's a good sign for you. I just think, Muniz is one of these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys who gets an MMA that I think is just kind of aging out of the sport. I say that as Rodolfo Bellato actually had sort of a renewed performance his last time with the striking, but I really just think there's going to be a lot of panic wrestling here. There's going to be a lot of attempts to go to the ground that don't work out before Shabazian gets the knockout. There's obviously some upside for Muniz if he gets the wrestling going, especially at that price tag. Could see a slate breaking score, quite frankly, if he does come through. But I'm going Shabazian, and I think he's gonna get it done without having to see the cards. But we will see how the boys feel. We'll start with Joe for this fight. Joe, how you seeing it?
Yeah, so I think I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to be on the wrong side of Drake here. Just kind of a wild guess. I honestly think Muniz is washed. I do. I really do. He didn't fight in all of 2024. He came back, obviously was put in an extremely tough matchup. I will say that much for him. He just got decimated in April. So he has not had a lot of ring time in the past few years. I mean, let's see. Did he even last the first round in his last fight? No, he got finished. He got finished in the first round. So yeah, I mean, he's essentially had one round of time in the octagon since December of 2023. And I just think he's washed. I mean, look, he's got a chance. He's a submission guy. All of his wins that were not by decision were by submission. I would say that if he could survive the first two rounds, he maybe has a shot in round 3 if Shabazian starts to gas. I do like that Shabazian is not still training in Glendale, in that camp in Glendale. I think he's gotten better, honestly. I think he's kind of being built back up by the UFC, and they've given him a very winnable fight here. So I like Shabazian. I don't know where I would actually place him because, again, I still want to see it with Shabazian, and he is 9.1K. And I think you'd be crazy to take him over, say, a Soriano. So, look, if you want to take a shot with him, fine. I just personally think he's washed. So I'll take Shabazian for the win here.
Yeah, I'm I'm on Shabazian too. I think Shabazian might be one of those contrarian pay-ups because I think the sort of the trendy play, and not without reason, but I think the trendy play is going to be there's a dog here with a total path, and I think that's where some people might be headed, and we'll see if some people are. Drake, how do you see this fight?
It's so funny. It's like you guys know me or something. Yeah, no, so this is actually my bet of the week, Andre Muniz. There's a few reasons behind it. Yeah, could he get knocked out? Absolutely. Shabazian's got great power. He's still technically a great prospect. He's still young. I just worry about his cardio and I worry about his grappling. Muniz is a phenomenal grappler once he gets it into his area, and I don't want to believe that he's washed at 35 years old. I really don't. I do think the year off didn't exactly help him. And to Joe's point, he only had the one round, but he's also had plenty of time to train and, all that good stuff. But this is, I feel like this is a bit of a trap fight for Shabazian. I feel like a lot of people are going to be all over him because Muniz got knocked out last fight. And I think, there could be a lot of surprises coming in this fight. I love Muniz by submission.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Your take too. You may be right. I'm just kind of thinking like people are looking for dogs, and they see a wrestling angle and they're going to take it. But you might be right. People seeing Shabazian's power and remembering that, and knowing that Muniz with the layoffs and what have you. But definitely a binary fight, and one that we might have an answer to quickly once it gets started. So that'll be interesting to see.
We could just skip this next fight.
Okay, well, let's see which one. Oh, absolutely. Now we're gonna spend as much time as humanly possible talking about Patchy Mix at 9,000, taking on Jacob Wicklax at 7,200. Line here. I don't know why I'm all turned around on the sheet here. It is minus 330 for Patchy Mix. Jacob Wicklax plus 270 as the debutante. And this is a tough fight to call now, just because Patchy, and as a Patchy fan, I can say, looked so bad in the UFC debut there. Just sort of was stiff and didn't try to wrestle at all, and just tried to slug it out there with a more dynamic striker in Mario Batista that was just never going to go his way. He did land 122 significant strikes, so if you rostered him, you didn't get absolutely nothing, but certainly you were looking for more than that. I think so it makes it harder to call because you really don't know what to expect. I think Patchy's going to get his wrestling going. I think he knows that he has to. Jacob Wicklax is kind of a brawler, and just sort of a guy who's been what does that say? You're muted. What does that say? You're still muted.
That was a cup from the UFC card that Patchy Mix made his debut on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have more of a narrative take on this fight if Drake wants to cede his spot and go first next time. It's your call, Drake.
All right. Well, Drake, we'll put it to you. I was just going to finish up quickly on Wicklax. I think that he will be available to be taken down. He is a sort of a brawler, as I said. So, he's got a shot there. But we saw, if nothing else, Patchy was tough in his UFC debut. So we'll go ahead and take that. I think Patchy gets back on track here with sort of a dominant win, and could be a nice pay up if people are just forgetting about him from the disastrous debut there. So I am on Patchy, and let's see, Drake, how do you call it? Do you want to go, or you want to let Joe take your spot there?
I can go. It's fine.
All right, go ahead.
I'll be quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you believe it if I said I am taking a Bellator fighter?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't now, then it was never going to happen.
I'm on Patchy Mix. I'm not this Polish kid is. I watched. I think I watched 4 or 5 of his last fights. Fundamentally he's great. He's got good. He's got decent striking. He's not much of a striker. He's almost a pure grappler.
Yeah.
But I think this is a horrible matchup for him. this is not the guy that you want to go in against coming into your UFC debut. And I think Patchy gets back on track here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good showing, and he definitely needs it, and could be a sneaky one for DFS as a decent sized favorite here. All right, Joe, what is the take? Let's have it.
There's a bunch of narrative. First of all, in terms of your comment on the significant strikes, that was the live final, the DraftKings live final. That card at Newark at the Prudential Center. They really overscored the strikes in that fight. I mean, the amount of strikes that they gave to Batista in that fight, like I think if Mix actually took as many strikes as they credited Batista with, he would be dead. So I think they fight metric, again, and we used to have a lot of problems with fight metrics. Like those of us who've been playing DFS MMA for a while, we always had issues with fight metrics in the past. And frankly, they haven't been part of the narrative in quite some time, which is really good. But man, like we were all like I was on Mix, and a lot of the other guys in the room were on Mix. We're on Batista. We loved Batista. He was our favorite dog. The whole Bellator angle, and we were just shocked by his score because of all the strikes he was credited with. So the other thing is this Polish fighter, KSW champion. He is a pure grappler. I mean, he strikes to set up his grappling. This is a pure setup fight by the UFC. There is a theory, okay, and maybe Drake prescribes to this, especially if you are a conspiracy theorist, that the UFC, in the first fight of a former Bellator PFL fighter, they like to set them up with someone that's going to beat them, just to show the superiority of the UFC. So now that that's done with, and again, I think anyone with half a brain looked at the fight and said, Batista's so much better on his feet. His takedown efficiency is good. Mix is not going to get him down. Like that was like the easiest dog that I can recall in the last, year, was taking Batista against Mix. Now that that's done with, you have the UFC giving him a grappler coming from an inferior organization. He should be able to get takedowns. I could actually see him getting a choke in here because this fighter does leave himself open to getting choked out. If you Drake watched some of his fights, you could see in his positioning on the mat that he is susceptible to a superior grappler choking him out. So I can certainly see Mix getting the finish here. I liked him when he was in the twos. Now he's like in the minus 300 range. So I'm definitely going to have him as a parlay piece. Which I think is the way that I'm really going to be playing this card. I'm looking at 5 or 6. I know it's not very sexy, but I'm looking at like 5 or 6 favorites and then just parlaying them up and doing like a 3, 4, and 5 type of round robin situation. And just going to say, okay, if someone S's in the apple pie, I'll have to deal with it. And if I have Ankalaev as my final pick, I could always hedge out on Pereira. So, this is one of those guys that I'm putting in that favorite parlay mix. I think this is just a perfect fight for him. An inferior grappler coming from another organization who's essentially flying from Eastern Europe to Las Vegas to take this fight. So I certainly see this as a fight where Mix is being set up for the win.
Yeah, no, I agree. They brought him over and they're going to try to reestablish him here. And I think this is the fight to do it. But we're going to move on now to our next bout, which is Daniel Santos at 8,300 taking on Jusang Yu at 7,900. Line on this one is it is Santos at minus 145, Yu at plus 125 coming back. And I like Santos here just on the work rate and the toughness. We saw him take some really big shots in his last fight, particularly work to the body and never really flinch, never stop coming forward. Yu is a powerful striker, but sort of plants his feet and throws. And I think Santos can just sort of get onto him and swarm and put up a big score at that 8,300. So Santos, again, really impressed with his toughness. I do think he might have to weather a little bit of a storm here from you, but I think he's up for it. So my pick is Daniel Santos for this one. And I think now we're going to start with JoJo. How you see it?
Okay, so this is one of the dogs that I like here. I'm going to go with the little zombie, the disciple of the Korean zombie here. First of all, we should say that Santos missed weight badly. This is a catch weight fight at 153.5. Let me say that again, 153.5 for a featherweight fight that should have happened at 145, maybe 146. So he missed weight badly. I get that he probably didn't even try, which is like what I do like to see when you miss weight. But again, did he miss weight because he just decided not to cut weight, or did he miss weight because he was hurt? We don't know. Did not look like in shape on the scales, at least in my eyes. This guy is tough, Korean fighter, trained by the Korean zombie. I think now he's at what, plus 130, Chris? Did you read the recent odds? I'm sorry if I missed it.
I did, yeah, no, plus 125. I see some 130s, but the one I read was 125.
Yeah, so plus 125 at what? I'm sorry, repeat the salary again. 7.9, 7.8.
I'm gonna go on good faith that you're not trolling me here. I'm not. It's 83 and 79.
Okay, so 79. Yeah, again, not a massive reach here. I mean, like 7.9, but 7.9 at plus 125 for a really tough fighter who did extremely well in his last fight. What did he put up? Like 120, 127.4. Now he was priced high at 9.5. It was pretty much of a layup fight for him. It was only 4 months ago. He fought less than 4 months ago in June. I like him again here. He had one knockdown. It was a first round finish. Only landed 6 significant strikes. That's how quickly he put this guy away. So I'm guessing based on the score, he got the 25-point bonus for finishing the guy within the first minute. So we don't really know what he can do here, but I am going to extrapolate from that fight. And since we do need some underdogs here, I am going to take him as one of my primary underdogs at 7.9K plus 125.
Yeah, I mean, we should say that that knockout was Jekka Sergey, who
I know.
probably is not in the organization anymore. I would imagine, but point taken. He definitely has some attributes that would have you look in his direction. Drake, what about you? How you see it?
I have Santos, but this to me was one of the harder fights to pick. I truly think that this is as close to a pick 'em as it gets.
Yeah.
I see nothing but chaos coming from this fight, which could also lead to, massive DFS scores. It could really go either way. I went with Santos just because he does have a little more experience and he has shown a really good chin in the ring. It's hard to know what you has because he destroyed the guy in 30 seconds in his first fight. So I think it's a good spot to have both guys. But yeah, I'll stick with Santos.
Yeah, that's a great point, Drake. I mean, I definitely see this as a GPP fight. I don't know that you could be overly confident having either one of these guys in cash, unless you actually need the salary savings at 7.9K. But yeah, great point, Drake. You want both sides of this fight in GPPs.
I will add in that Santos did have 6 takedowns in his last fight. That could come into play in here, so it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. I think fights generally that are like in the 79-83 range for dog fair. I mean, if you get an aggressive fighters in there, which Santos is, I mean, it could absolutely pop off. And him fighting that way is going to make his opponent fight to that speed. And so, you're looking at big scores probably any way you cut it, as you guys said. So we will see what happens there. But for right now, we will move on to our next fight, which is Atop Gautier at 9,800, taking on the newcomer, the late replacement, Tristan Vines. The line on this fight is enormous. Minus 2,000 for Gautier, plus 1,000 for Vines. And when I read a line like that, it makes me wonder how much we should even say. Gautier has been a monster, and Trevin Giles has been knocked out before. So I think, Tristan Vines, I should say, has been knocked out before. So I think that's more or less all that you really needs to be said. I did see in some of the tape for Vines that he's not a bad looking fighter per se. He's athletic. He seems to keep range pretty well, but I do think that this is going to be another walkover spot for Gauthier. We always talk about this with the really high salaries. If he gets his 101, 103, is that going to be enough on a card like this, or are we banking on that 60-second finish? We've seen him be a little bit deliberate at times, Gauthier, that is. So I don't know if that is in the offing per se, but I do think he's going to get this done with a finish. We will see what the boys think, though, and we're going to start, I believe, with Drake this time. Drake, how you see it?
Yeah, so I've got Gauthier, which I think like 99% of the people will, but I also think that this is one of those spots where we could get surprised, like not long ago when what's his name beat the what fight was that? We were all completely against him, and then he managed to win.
A big favorite?
God, who was that? I can't remember which one it was, but yeah. So Vines has a way to win this fight, and it's to tire Gauthier out. Which, if he does after round one, we could see the knockout go the other way. It's unlikely, but it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Gauthier is unproven in his own right, and that does set the stage for a guy who, like I said, is an athletic fighter, does hit hard, is sort of good at keeping that range. Maybe frustrate a guy like Gauthier who's used to just going in there, getting his opponents out of there really quickly. So, there is something to be said for that. And this could be just like one of those weird prospect losses where he's just not ready, or the opponent change throws him. There's a lot of things that can go wrong here. As Gauthier is, certainly not like a seasoned pro. But that said, I do think Gauthier is going to get him out of there. But yeah, to Drake's point, maybe not quite as clear cut as your typical minus 2,000.
That other fight I was talking about was Coria and Costa, when Coria just came out of nowhere and obliterated him.
Right. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, so I take the point. I still think it has to be Gauthier, but to the point, Vines a little sprinkle here and there for DFS probably couldn't hurt. So I think the pick has to be Gauthier, but keep your eyes open for some weirdness. I think maybe is the message there, but we'll see what Joe thinks. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, I mean, the only concern here is he hasn't made it out of the first round. He's very expensive, the most expensive salary on the card. You need to get, I think there's going to be some high scores here due to the proliferation of favorites. He's going to be highly owned. He's not going to be exactly a contrarian play. That's your concern. I do believe that, and I apologize if I misheard this, I do believe that Vines was in fact training for an LFA fight when he took the call from the UFC. So I don't think he's coming like directly off the bench, like to take this fight. So
that is correct.
I don't think cardio should be an issue here. And if anything, cardio would work against, Gauthier, who hasn't made it out of the first round. So yeah, it's not a very sexy pick, but I'll go with Gauthier as well.
Yeah. Interesting one to see, and again, maybe a guy who can spoil the party. So keep that in the back of your mind for building those DFS lineups. But for right now, we are going to go. We're going to start the main card actually, and it is going to be Joe Fire at 8,700 taking on Abus Magomedov 7,500. Line on this fight is Magomedov. I'm sorry, Fire at minus 255. Magomedov plus 215. I really think Abus is the guy who kind of gets a bad rap, just based on some of his early performances. Of course, the Sean Strickland fight where he completely gassed out and then got finished. But I do see him as like a versatile kind of guy who strikes well, and his cardio has looked better recently, and he's been wrestling more recently. And I like both of those things, especially against the guy like Fire, who, is going to look to pressure, going to look to take him out early. And if he's the guy who can survive and work his wrestling, I think he can turn this tide pretty quickly. Not the biggest fan of Joe Fire. Again, he's got good hands, power, but not much else in my opinion. So I'm actually taking a little flyer on the 7,500 dog again. I think Abus is, pretty good skill set, pretty well rounded, and I think he can sort of take it to Fire, even if he's got to weather a little something in the first round. I think he's building the career back up, and I think he got enough to get it done. But we will see what the boys thinking. We'll start with Joe this time, I believe. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, I don't mind actually taking a slice of a boost here. Again, my concern is he's not going to be a high scorer. He hasn't really scored even in his wins. He is coming off 3 wins, which I like. He did look good in that first round against Strickland before he gassed and Strickland put him away. So I can certainly see him doing well here. The key is, frankly, he's got to get his grappling going. I mean, I was on the Joker in that 5-round fight against Pfeiffer. I thought that was such a great play. I remember having a really good slate that card, betting wise, because I was on Hermanson. So there is a formula to beat Pfeiffer. I don't know if I like Abus well enough to actually pick him here, but I do see him as being viable for having shares, especially at 7.5K, and especially if he can get his wrestling going early. I don't think he wants to get into a striking match with Pfeiffer, because I could see Pfeiffer wear him down, and I especially see Pfeiffer having a lot of success in after the first 7.5 minutes, so call it the second half of the fight. So I think Abus has got to get to work quickly, win the first round, try to win the second round, and maybe he could get a decision. If not, I could see Pfeiffer piecing him up on the feet. So I'm going to go with Pfeiffer, but I don't hate your take on having some shares of Abus at 7.5K in a card where we don't really have a lot of dogs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think he needs to come out and establish his grappling early, but I think he's gonna get it done. He's been wrestling more of late, and so kind of like him to stay in that flow there. Drake, what about you? How do you see it?
I think you guys are crazy. I think Pfeiffer is better than Abus everywhere, and I don't even think it's close. I think you forget that Pfeiffer is also.
I think I'm frozen because.
Yeah, you are. But there you go.
Am I good now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Wait. So go ahead. You were talking about how much you like Abus. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer won the Fury Pro grappling against Gerald Meerschaert. Pfeiffer is a phenomenal grappler.
Yeah, but
so he's the better grappler. He's got more power. He throws more volume, and he's got better cardio. There is nothing in this line and anything that says Abus wins this fight. Nothing.
I think the cardio of Abus is improved. I don't know if I call him the better grappler, especially MMA punches, the whole kind of thing. I don't think I'll ever bet against one of these Russian dudes when it comes to grappling. Anybody named
Magomed your own Philly Jersey boy, huh?
Huh?
Going against your own Philly Jersey boy.
I know. Well, every once in a while it pays to show that you're not biased. But no, look, Pfeiffer can come back out and smoke him. I just think Abus has kind of gotten a raw deal. I liked him coming in as his well-roundedness, and I think it plays here. But we will see how that one goes, and maybe a little bit more attention.
Hey, Chris, did we miss Joey's pick?
No, I think it was Muniz, right? Because he was
Muniz. That did not happen on purpose. That was completely coincidental that we both were on him. So
right, yeah. All right, now so we got that there, but we're gonna move on now up the main card, and it is Youssef Zalal 9,400. Taking on Josh Emmett at 6,800. Line on this fight, Zalal minus 525. Josh Emmett plus 410. And I love Josh Emmett. I always have been a big fan of his power. He had a knockout streak going back a ways that I really enjoyed. But he got his wrestling going against Murphy because he had to. He looked pretty bad in that fight, and I think this is going to be more of the same. where he's just going to be chasing Zalal around, who's going to sort of keep range with the height advantage there and just kind of snipe at him. Maybe try to get his wrestling going, but I think the better play here for Zalal is just going to be to snipe him up, and Emmett's going to come out with those big, powerful shots and just not be able to find him. So I like Zalal here. I don't know about the price there, just because Emmett's always been really tough. He has been submitted and knocked out once, of course, by Jeremy Stevens, but I wouldn't bank on either one of those here. So I do like Zalal to win the fight. I just don't think he scores very well. So this is maybe a pass for me, because I can't really, in good conscience, recommend Emmett either. So I'm going to say Zalal, but, not my favorite fight to target. But we will see what the boys think, and we'll start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this one?
So Zalal was out of the UFC. He came back to the UFC, and he looks like a completely different fighter. I mean, it's a night and day difference. And, his last fight against Calvin Kattar, it was all striking because he couldn't get Kattar down. Well, Emmett has absolutely atrocious takedown defense. This is a horrible matchup for him. This is going to be another Zalal is going to finish him. I think, to be honest, I think all 5 of the fights in the main card are going to be finishes. That includes Merab.
Yeah, I don't see. Part of me thinks Zalal is just gonna try to use his height and stick behind it. Like you said, Emmett can be taken down. He can be submitted, so that's definitely a path. I'm just not 100% sure we get there, especially since I think Emmett is going to be the one chasing this fight down and putting his foot on the gas. But we'll see how that goes. Joe, how do you see this fight?
So look, I while it was smart, I absolutely hated the optics in the Kattar fight. I don't fault him for it, because Kattar can strike, but he literally ran the entire round. I have a sneaking suspicion, and again, this is a play on narrative and conspiracy theory, that someone got in his ear and said, you can't do that anymore. You can't literally run an entire round. And honestly, that did benefit me in some way, because while I bet Kattar, I also had Kattar at +3.5, meaning, for those who don't bet the point lines, meaning that Kattar had to win one round on all 3 judges' scorecards. And he clearly won that 3rd round because Zalal did nothing but run the entire round after banking the first 2. And I get it. It's smart. If you're just looking to get the win, great. But you're not going to make too many friends in the UFC by literally running an entire round. So,
what do you mean? Holly Holm has made a career out of it.
Look, female fight. I get it. Except when she fought Megan Anderson, and I was all over Holly Holmes. She put her singlet on. Anyway, so I don't love. I really would hope. I would love to see. And by the way, if anyone's seen training of Emmett, man, he's friggin' ripped. But he's always ripped, right? Like at his age, like oh my God, is he ripped? Like, I would love to see Zalal come in for a takedown and Emmett to just unload with an uppercut or something and just zone him.
Well, we don't need to see another Bryce Mitchell type of situation. That was pretty scary.
I would love to see Emmett win this fight. Look, I'll pick Zalal here. I think I would take, just because I have a bad taste in my mouth about the last fight, and it's pure optics and narrative and recency bias. But I think in GPPs, I would take a few shares of Emmett. I'm going to pick Zalal, but honestly, I don't love him in any of my lineups. I don't like him in cash. I don't like him in GPPs. He's just kind of blah. I think his salary is too high. I think there are better plays slightly above him, slightly below him. So yeah, he gets the win. I think Emmett is tough. I don't know that I don't see him finishing Emmett. And I don't see Zalal, if he does get in trouble, wanting to engage. So I see him getting a decision win. Maybe Emmett even gets around. I don't know. It's a 3-round fight. So we'll see what happens. So my official pick will be Zalal. I'll take a stab. I'll take a few shares of Emmett in GPPs. But I really don't want any of Zalal in my lineups. I'll if I was playing 150, which I don't think I'm going to do this slate, I'll have market or under market of them, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm more in your camp, Joe. I think it's going to stay on the feet and kind of. He'll probably look bloodied up and kind of worse for the wear by the end of it, but I don't think it's going to translate to a very great DFS score. but we will see how that one works out. Now we're honing in on the big ticket items here. It is Jiri Prochazka, 8,500, taking on Khalil Roundtree Jr., as it says on DraftKings, at 7,700. Line on this fight is Prochazka minus 200, Roundtree plus 170. And the more I think about this fight, the more I wonder how Khalil just doesn't detonate him. I think that's probably what we're looking at here, just because I think Khalil Roundtree, look, he's got some losses that haven't quite aged well. I think before he went and found himself with the whole tie striking thing, I think he was kind of adrift as to the kind of fighter he wanted to be. I really think he's come way into his game. He's not only a power fighter who's athletic. He was that before, but now he's like a clever striker. He does clever things in the cage, like he'll fake a low kick and then come over the top. Like he tries to set traps for you. I really like the progression in his game, and I don't think it's an accident that he went on that win streak, showed up in that Pereira fight, and really gave Pereira something to think about when even I wasn't really sure that he could. So I really like Roundtree here, and we're gonna have to see what's going on with Jiri. The improved head movement we saw in the Jamal Hill fight, is that for real, or was that kind of a one-off? Jamal Hill, I think, has been properly exposed at this point. He's just got too many flaws in his game. He's got no footwork. He holds his chin high. There's a million things that are wrong. So I just don't think he's a high-level fighter, as some of us surmised when he did end up getting the belt for a time. And I think Khalil Roundtree is just the opposite. I really think he's one of the better fighters in this division. And Jiri, to me, still seems like a good time, not a long time kind of guy. Guy who's going to brawl. He's gonna put together his clever strikes, but still think he's there to be hit. And I think Khalil Roundtree is going to hit him. So Roundtree,
at the end of this, you're going to have to give us your address so we can give you some airline tickets for your island.
Well, what is that? I'm by myself here. Is that it? Okay. Well, I'm proud to be.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. What can I say? But I really do like Roundtree here. I'm gonna hear the dissenting views in a minute, and then I can pick apart why they are wrong. But until then, let me just say that if you're sleeping on Roundtree as sort of the one-dimensional fighter that he was when he came in, I think you're really missing it. I think this guy has improved greatly, and I really think he's going to take a big step to being sort of a perennial contender coming into this one. So my pick is Roundtree, and we're going to go. Drake sort of wants it, and I do think it's him anyway, if I do remember. So Drake, how do you see this fight?
Roundtree is one-dimensional. He is a one-trick power punch pony.
No.
Jiri does a lot of weird shit in the ring. He does. He is very, very unorthodox. He moves a lot. He does a lot of very odd and different things, and it throws a lot of people off. I'd say the only person that didn't get thrown off was Pereira. That's because he's tall, he stands there, and he doesn't allow anything to come at him. Roundtree is not built the same. I don't think Roundtree is a shot outside of a knockout in this fight.
Well, I gotta give you this one, since that ass is getting spanked, Drake. I hate to tell you, but thank you for the comment there, Cloud. On your knees, and I just think you're way underselling it. I think Roundtree has turned himself into a pretty good striker with some levels to his game, and I think we're going to see it. But Joe,
hold on. Before we go to Joe, let me ask you this: in a fight between Reyes and Roundtree, who are you going to take
now?
Yeah,
Roundtree.
I mean, aside from Reyes' last fight, he'd been on a massive roll.
Yeah, but first of all, I never knew how seriously to take that. That's number one. But I truth be told, I'm taking Roundtree against everyone but like 3 or 4 fighters in this division. Like I really like Roundtree quite a bit. I think this is going to be his coming out party for all the haters.
Can't wait to watch your 395% just go even lower.
You know what? That's a low blow, Drake. Low blow.
I know.
So I will tell you quickly about Reyes. Last card, I had $6,000 in parlays tied to Reyes in the main event, and I bet 2,500 on Ulberg. First round KO and KO to hedge some of that. Now I didn't hedge all of it. I hedged some of it. So that was, I really needed Reyes. That was very disappointing. At least I
had
did.
Ulberg all
I
day.
did get the KO. Yeah, I know. So anyway, interesting. Okay, so Chris, you're not really on an island here. I want to go back. Like Roundtree has been in the UFC for a while. He was in Tough. Going back to the last fight you could actually see in the stats on DraftKings, which was the Anders fight in 2019, he just finished his training camp in Phuket, Tiger Muay Thai. And I remember even everybody saying, oh my God, he looks so good. He looks so good. And Anders was a favorite in that fight. And that's when Anders was actually reasonably good in 2019, 6 years ago. And Roundtree just had like a real disciplined performance, put up 104 DK points. And then he fell off a friggin' cliff. He lost to Kutlaba, scored 2 points, lost to Prochniel, scored 19.8 points. I honestly thought he was going to get cut. Like with 2 losses like that to that, to those guys, I thought he was going to get cut. Then all of a sudden he goes on a run. He beats Bukakis, he beats Roberson, he beats Jacoby, he beats Dawkins, he beats Anthony Smith. And then again, he also lost to Pereira, but he looked good against Pereira. He beat Hill. I think Hill is washed, personally. I think he's had too many injuries, and he's washed. Look, I think this fight is close. I think it's maybe closer than the line. I would put it at much closer to a pick'em type of fight. So this is really more of a value play. Like, I think this is a GPP fight. You should have both sides. I could see if this goes to decision, it not scoring very well because Roundtree tends to wait too long. And Yuri is a wild man. So I would have both sides of this fight. I do see it as more of a coin flip, but if you're asking me to make a pick, this will be officially a dog pick on Roundtree. I don't love it. Again, my favorite dog on the card is the Korean fighter, Little Zombie. But this will be one of my dog picks. I'm not sure how much I'm going to play it, but I will take it as a dog play.
Well, me and Joe on our own private island.
How about that?
Getting nice and cozy.
Kind of unusual.
Yeah, no, obviously, look, can Jerry knock him out? Of course he can, but I need to see more depth in the game from Jerry. If he has a really good performance here, I'll have to sort of change my tune and start to look at him more as a complete fighter more than just sort of a meme, charge the rune kind of guy. But I still think that remains to be seen. So interesting fight coming up for sure. But we're going to move on now to the co-main event of the evening, and it is Merab Dvalishvili at 9,300, taking on Cory Sandhagen at 6,900. Line on this fight, minus 400 Merab, plus 300 coming back on Sandhagen. And it's funny, it's been noticeable that Cory Sandhagen has really upped his sort of scrambling game on the mat. And I wonder if that's by design, because I wonder if he feels like, Merab is going to get me down. Merab gets everybody down. But what happens there is nobody beats him on the mat. So if somebody can, like, I was think about a guy like Damian Maia. And when he fought Ben Askren, of course, Askren over the hill at that time. But the general point just being, if you have a guy who's got one skill set, and then the thing that can totally neutralize it, of course, not saying Sandhagen is at the level of BJJ at Damian Maia, but just if he can put a stop to him there, out scramble him, reverse him, get back to his feet, really make Merab work, rough him up in those exchanges maybe, then maybe he has a chance. I opened with that.
There's Chris freezing up again.
I think Merab just has to be your pick. He's just tearing through everybody. And even if you get him a little bit early, as we've seen, he'll get you late. The cardio, of course, is legendary. The scores are legendary. He averages almost 120 DraftKings points over 15 fights, which is just unbelievable. Sandhagen, not great takedown defense, about 63%. So he's going to need that scrambling, and the length of him there can maybe sort of pay dividends, but cannot pick against Merab at this stage in his career. There is no way. Put him in your lineups. Have some shares of Sandhagen in case he can make hay on the ground there and sort of scramble his way to victory, or maybe put Merab in some bad spots. But Merab has to be the play. And we will go with Joe for the co-main. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting to me is, and look, I'm not disparaging Sandhagen at all. I like Sandhagen, trains at altitudes, got good cardio. But I think Merab has fought better versions of Sandhagen everywhere. Sterling is a better grappler, and Sterling puts Sandhagen away, right? And Merab is better at wrestling and grappling than Sterling is. He's fought better strikers than Peter Yan. I just I hate to say this is a step down, because that would really be doing a disservice to Cory. And I was very disappointed in how O'Malley looked. And I think I actually might have picked O'Malley in the last fight, which was really bad, which was a horrible call. And I saw great value in the odds, and I actually played some O'Malley in DFS. But yeah, O'Malley looked much better in the first fight, and actually even kind of hurt Merab in the last round. But yeah, you're right. Merab takes everybody down, and honestly, it bodes well for scoring if Sandhagen does get back up.
Yeah,
because you make more money on rinse and repeat takedowns than you do on control time. So I don't see it. I won't give you the name of the person, but on his podcast, I will tell you that he is Australian, and in his podcast, he played "Enter the Sandman" by Metallica, great song, in his backing of Sandhagen, and I honestly I don't see it.
Yeah,
this guy is a big time gambler. Apparently, he's a professional player in MMA, and I respect that. Anybody who can do this and make a living at it, but he also is kind of a tout, and he sells his VIP services. But he picked Sandhagen here, and I honestly tried to figure out what a Sandhagen victory would look like here. And again, I don't see it, because he's fought people in aggregate who are better than Sandhagen, and Merab is at the top of his game. I mean, there's nothing to indicate that he's washed and he's not as good as he ever was, and maybe even getting better. I believe he moved to Vegas, Merab. I think he still has the Sarah Longo team in his corner, but he moved to Vegas. He's got a house. This is a day at the office for him. So yeah, Merab, put him in your lineups. He's going to be super popular.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk getting back. I mean, the mere fact that he was able to get a submission in his last fight, I think, is getting better. If there was one knock on Merab, it was that decision machine, also decision machine. But maybe that's coming.
Yeah, I don't know what O'Malley I don't even know if he trained for that. I mean, it was just so disappointing the way he looked in that fight versus the first fight. Now, you would have thought that he would have maybe developed a better game plan in his second fight as opposed to the first fight. But here's a guy that actually looked worse the second time.
To your point, it looked like a more assertive Merab to me, especially early. And I think that really made the difference. So I really do think the scrambles, especially early in this one, will be interesting. To me, this fight is like, Duplessis and Hamzat. It's like there's a little bit of intrigue here, but very early we're gonna know if we shouldn't be really fascinated by it anymore. I think it just really could be a spot where we're halfway through round two and it's more Merab control time, and you just sort of know how it's going to go. But I do think it's going to be more interesting than that. I do think Sandhagen's going to put up a fight, at least early, but I got to go with Merab here. Drake, what about you? How are you seeing the co-main event?
Well, obviously, I'm going Merab. There's just no doubt about that. Not only is he the DFS probably GOAT at this point, people could give me whatever hate they want for this. I don't think there's a single fighter that could beat Merab right now going up 2 divisions. I really don't. There's when you fight the way that Merab does, there's not much you can really do. I would love to see an oversized Merab go against Hamzat. That would be amazing, but that's just never going to happen. Right. And, going to Merab and his lack of finishes, I honestly think that he could have finished every single one of those fights. He chose to fight safe, which may not be exciting, for some people, but look where he's at. I mean, he's absolutely one of the most dominant fighters we've seen.
Yeah. And, it's been working for him. The guy literally never gets tired. It's just a marvel. And Sandhagen, it's at the point where I want to see how these coaches individually game plan for him, because they're going to have to try some different things. And so I just wonder, okay, so what is the thing going to be? Because it's becoming clear that just coming out and trying to have your standard fight is not working. And we will see what tricks Sandhagen and crew have in the bag. But, the pick does have to be Merab without question. But now we will go to the main event, which is champion. And I say again, champion for everybody else in the room. Magomed Ankalaev at 8,900 taking on Alex Pereira at 7,300. Line on this fight, Ankalaev minus 255. Alex Pereira plus 215. Of course, the rematch of their first fight, in which Ankalaev sort of used his wrestling to not actually take him down, but sort of freeze Pereira in place and have Pereira never get his offense going, which resulted in Ankalaev outstriking Pereira and hurting him at one point in the fight, taking home the victory. Should note that if Ankalaev does win here, we get home with one of our fighters to be champion by the end of the year, and that was plus 165 at the time I wrote it up. So if you got in on that, you're welcome. We got another one coming up too. I should note in Verna Jandiroba coming with her title fight soon. Neither here nor there. I like Ankalaev to repeat and retain champion, as you may have guessed. I think that I actually think the wrestling is going to open up more this time, because I think Pereira knows that he's going to have to get his offense going. He cannot have another fight like the one he had where he just kind of stands in space. He stuffed every takedown, 12 of them. Good on him. But he needed to sacrifice his striking to do that. And I don't think he can win it like that. I think he knows it. And I think the takedowns are going to come easier as a consequence. I also think somebody pushing in on him, taking the pressure away from him, I don't think that's something that he's used to being the hammer and not the nail. So if Ankalaev can keep that pressure, I think that bodes really well for him also. I just think that Ankalaev maybe just found the recipe. Said, "Hey, this is how you beat a guy like this." I don't think there's any reason to think that this fight goes any differently. Pereira wants to say that I was hurt, I was this, I was that. I hate when guys start talking like that, even if I'm for them. I want them to focus on what went wrong inside the cage. First, he said he was just holding me. Then he said I was hurt. So it's just too many excuses for me going outside the cage as well. I like Ankalaev to repeat here and finish the year as champion. But we will see what the boys think. We're going to start with Joe for the main event. Joe, how do you see this fight?
I get that this is a DraftKings show. I agree with your point, Chris. I do think that Ankalaev is going to have a better performance here. He's going to get his wrestling going. There is some more narrative around this fight where the thought is that Pereira might have been overly distracted leading up to his last fight against Ankalaev, where he was doing a lot of press and really enjoying the lifestyle of being champion and everything that comes with it. I hear he's more focused. I always saw him as a limited fighter. I do think that Ankalaev will get his wrestling going and be more successful here. The not to bury the lead, but I said I like him also from a betting perspective because having Ankalaev as the final leg in my parlays means that I could hedge on the underdog, and it's always a lot easier to hedge on the underdog versus trying to hedge off on the favorite, which I had to do last fight because there's obviously some line benefit to hedging on the underdog. So I'm going to go with you. I like Ankalaev. I thought he would put up a better score here. I think honestly this fight can be skipped for DraftKings. I don't see it scoring very well unless there is a finish, which would somewhat surprise me. But these guys have not scored particularly well in fights that have gone to decisions. So I will take Ankalaev. I don't view it, and that's really weird for a main event, that I don't really view it as a must. We do have another 5-round fight that offers a lot more scoring potential. And even honestly, even stacking, the co-main, if it actually goes 5 rounds, could probably yield a pretty decent overall score. Sandhagen has scored 74 points in a loss before. So that's not horrible at his price point. So, that's something to consider anyway. I don't normally recommend stacking in GPPs, but if there's a lot of favorites and, you don't love a lot of underdogs and you can get a guy that puts up 70 in a 5-round fight, that's maybe not the worst thing in the world. So, I'm going to take Ankalaev here.
Yeah. Before we go to Drake, thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate it. I have been working hard on my appearance, and it's nice to be noticed. I'll say it. But now we will go to Drake. Drake, how do you feel about the main event?
So this is one of those fights that I am really, really torn on because Ankalaev is probably the obvious choice for most scenarios. I went Pereira simply because obviously he stuffed the 12 takedowns like Chris mentioned, and if he can continue that with getting more striking going and hopefully less clinch control, then there's an avenue that he wins this fight again. Obviously he's got the power, and if the report is true and that he did have a fractured tibia when he fought, it does make a difference. He does have really strong kicks. It is that's how he walks, how he kicks. It'll make a difference. Is it true? I don't know. Unless we actually saw the report on it, we won't know. This fight is so tough because you don't want to take it like Joe said, because if Ankalaev wins, it's likely going to be lower scoring. Just like the first one, there wasn't a whole lot of action. If Pereira wins, the value's all there because if Pereira wins, it's likely by knockout. So for me, it's Pereira. Can he pull it off? Absolutely. Is Ankalaev going to win? Probably. But I'm going to stick with the dog. I went with him last time. I'm going to stick with him this time.
The only thing I would say about Ankalaev and low scoring, if he does get the wrestling going, as Joe sort of agrees, then I think that will lead to a big score for Ankalaev, because if he gets him to the ground,
it just depends on how much control it's at, because he's not going to – Pereira's not going to get up 10 times, so it's not going to be rinse and repeat takedowns.
No, but he could pound him out from there. That's how he got most of his wins prior to coming to the UFC. Funnily enough, doesn't have a submission on his record, I believe. Just sort of pounded guys into oblivion, and but he certainly knows how to grapple, and I think he would be able to find the shots and put him away if he got him on the ground. So I do think there's an avenue for a big Ankalaev score, but he would have to get the takedowns going. But I agree. Both of the main and co-main are super interesting for different reasons, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how everything plays out there. But that is the end of the fight card. We're going to move on now to hot takes. If you are new to the podcast, we take some lines or some parlays that we think aren't properly juiced, or juiced too much, I should say, and that we give them to you as things that might come in that you might want to put a little sprinkle on. I'm going to go first. I'm going to make it short and sweet. And given how strongly Drake has this fight, I enjoy it even more. It's plus 360 Khalil Roundtree Jr. by knockout. So that is me, and we're going to kick it over to the boys. I should say, while the boys are giving their takes, if anybody in the chat has a hot take, put it there. We will discuss it and put it on the little screen here. But I'm going to open up the floor. Anybody have a hot take?
So I don't have a hot take per se, but I will share with you my betting strategy here just because I do see this as a favorite heavy card. I'm going to take like 5 or 6 fighters. I mean, again, this is not sexy at all. I'm going to take 5 or 6 fighters that are favorites, and I'm going to like ladder them up into a parlay with the Ankalaev being my final leg for reasons that I discussed earlier. I could hedge out with Pereira, but I'm going to use haven't fully decided whether I want to use Veronica Hardy yet. It kind of makes me nervous when you see a female at 7-1, but like Hardy, Bashara, Patrici Mix, Merab, and Ankalaev, and again, because they're all such big favorites, you're not getting a great price. But I'll probably like ladder them up. I'll do like a 3, 4, and 5 fighter parlays, different parlays, and again, I'll always have Ankalaev as my anchor because then if everything else hits, I could always hedge off on Pereira. So like I said, not very sexy, not a super hot take when you're playing all favorites. I don't normally do this. I do normally offer something that has a much higher, win ratio, but I don't really see that much value. Now you can try to get cute and try to figure out how some of these favorites are going to win. If you want to juice up the parlays, that's something that you could always look at depending on what state you're located in and, what your book offers. DraftKings offers a lot of great props. So I pretty much exclusively use DraftKings, but, that's it for me.
Yeah, bucking the trend. I think this is the first time one of our panelists has not had a hot take. Hopefully Drake can swoop in and save the day here.
I do.
We do appreciate the strategies for sure. Drake, what do you got?
People aren't gonna like it though. It's it's my 2 big dogs. I've got Andre Muniz and Ramiz Brahimaj, both by submission. It's plus 3,200.
Yeah, no, and look, if you like it, I mean that's the way to go. Just
take a stab. $30 will get you 1,000. $35 will get you 1,000. I'll take a stab.
Yeah, even if you don't like it, take a stab because the avenue is there. Even if it is pretty crazy, we're gonna go. Joey says, "Troyano, this is, but is that
ain't a hot take?
Is that hot?
No, that's a cold take.
Cold take. I mean, I was going to say, are we even getting plus money? Are we even getting plus money on that at this point? Maybe we are.
So I have a question for Joey. So Joey, listen, if I have like a really killer slate where I crush it and win like FU money, and I float Drake a plane ticket and let him come stay at my house, will you actually drive up from South Jersey and like watch some fights with us if I do that? Like, I need to know.
He would for sure.
Yeah, I think I can answer that question. I don't even know him that well. I think he'll come.
Yeah, I mean, I've invited you many times, Chris, and you always got something going on. I mean, you got a full social schedule. I know.
Well, I'm in high demand. I think we all knew, but Joey confirms.
Okay, so you guys should be rooting for me to have a really killer slate, so I could flip. What airport would you fly out of?
I could do Madison or Milwaukee.
Okay, Madison or Milwaukee. Okay,
I could do Chicago too if I needed to.
Nah, that would be a drive for you though, wouldn't it?
It's only 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, it's too far. Okay.
And Robert asked, "Do you have?" Oh, I didn't actually get the question. Do you have any other hoodies, Drake, or is it because you seem to wear that one a lot? I think is the.
I wore my Packer hoodie last time. This is my fight night hoodie, man.
No, it's true. It's true. We got the. He's getting in the spirit of. He's getting stuff.
This is like one of my big dog. It's not a hoodie. It's a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
It's actually getting into hoodie weather here, though, in northern New Jersey.
It is, yeah.
We had 90 degrees today, so.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I heard about the Midwest having like some record heat, and when we woke up, it was in the 40s last night here in northern New Jersey. Wow.
Man, that is wow indeed.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But all right, that is going to be the Fight IQ podcast for UFC 320. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will be on Twitter talking about the fights, certainly in the DMs, razzing each other about some of the major disagreements here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Good luck in all your contests, and we will see you for the next one.